What's up, y'all? It's Jam and Sam, and today we're going to talk about the part two of the soundtrack of Donkey Kong Country and analyze it for all that's worth. Now, all right, so it looks like we got some people in here. Welcome, Aiza Breath. Welcome, Gamer XT and Llama Animations. Good to see y'all here so soon. Now, let's get into it. We had someone request Ice Cave Chant and someone request Fear Factory, but I do believe that neither of those people are here right now. So let's start with the final boss, which is Gangplank Galleon, and see if they come in later, and then we'll do their request. Hey, I'm from Saudi Arabia. Welcome from Saudi Arabia. Nice to see you here. Nostalgic, welcome. Thank you, Jam Sam, for making DKC restored. DKC is a big part of my childhood. You're welcome, Dusan. Welcome to the stream. Hi, Mr. Luigi. Welcome. Hello, Maximiliano. Welcome. Oh, what's up, RNC? We got you here. Yeah, we're gonna. I think we'll start with your Fear Factory request since you're here. Because that one's the one that plays chronologically in the game. Let's load that up. And then once, what was his name? Sabor? Well, once Sabor gets here, we'll do Ice Cave Chant. And if not, then we'll just do it at the end. Hi, Rito Gamer. Welcome. Thanks, we will enjoy you until the last night. Yeah. Amazing. I know you may be asked this, but will you ever do the DKC3 GBA soundtrack? It depends, because there's so many undiscovered sources in that game, and there is like I don't even know if a single song is doable right now with the information that we have available, because there's so many so many sources that are undiscovered. But maybe someday, especially without that MIDI, it's not really a big problem. I can transcribe stuff by ear, but it helps if I have the MIDI. But currently we can't get the MIDIs out of the game, so I can't convert the game to MIDI, so that makes it difficult. Currently, it's better. I think it's better just to wait because we don't have enough sources discovered. Maybe Mill Fever is a popular one that could be possible, but I don't even know about that. There's some synths in there that I'm questioning. Anyway. So, best soundtrack ever, yes. Okay, so here's Fear Factory. Now, Fear Factory is an interesting one because it's the only song in the game that's in E minor. And the reason for that is because let's find our bass here. So the lowest possible frequency that the human ear can hear is 20 hertz, right? And the lowest E note is at 20.6 hertz, if I'm not mistaken. So it's pretty much the lowest note that is audible to the ear, which means that if you want really deep bass vibrations, the deepest possible, then you go with an E. But I don't think here is even clocking it at E. I mean at the lowest E. I think he's clocking it at, what is this note? Can't even see the tuner now. This is E3, and I'm not even sure what that is in. Oh, that's in 80 hertz, so that's like 2 octaves above the lowest note. So why did he choose? Why did he still choose to write it in E if he's not going to use those deep bass vibrations? Cover that in a second. What's up, Marco? Welcome. What's up, brother? Glad you're back stateside. Much easier to tune into your live streams. Ah, yes, I'm in New York. And you are from New Jersey. Nice. I have family in New Jersey. That's awesome. Love New Jersey. So now, why didn't the wise man why did he stick with an 80 hertz, approximately 80 hertz note instead of going down here? So if you went down here, the lowest vibration is 43. And then if you go down another octave, there's your 20 hertz. Right there, and that would sound very bad, so it makes sense why he did it and why he didn't why he went with this one. But The real reason I think he did this is because it's sort of the custom of what was called Goa trance in the 90s. So Goa trance was a style of house music which had these 16 note basses that you hear in the wave sequence here. So it was popular to hear those sharp, bright basses, and it was like a very upbeat and energetic style of music. So it played a lot in clubs and stuff. So here's kind of what he's riffing off. You know, he made it like a factory. It's like a techno club tune. So he's basically emulating a techno club tune here. And those techno club tunes commonly did use that 20 hertz E in the bass. So he's kind of riffing off that. Now this bass, this sort of wave sequence bass, we have a bass under that, but we have this synth, which was also present in aquatic ambience in the bass at one point. And then we have this flute trimmed down to be a synth. It's a single cycle waveform playing at certain notes. And then we have the harp again. And then we have that Moog bass from Life in the Mines and also aquatic ambience. So we have that going off when we start. And let's see, Blackout Besa versus Oil Drum Alley. Yes, those were good levels. Welcome people in NG, my friend Chrome in NG in Saudi Arabia. Nice. Every DKC song is interesting to me. How different is each one? Yes, they are so very different. Like they have so many different styles that span. Like they go from swing to EDM, Euro techno, to all rock music, all kind of stuff. They got a good spread. So we have this wave sequence, most of which is from the wave station. So it's sort of emulating that wave station style sequence again. And then we have this bass. This actual bass. It's like a deeper bass, I do believe, but it's the voice box, the synth voice. This game really loves using those low synth voices. And it's going in 8th notes instead of 16th notes like the wave sequence is. So it's not upholding it's not upholding too much energy. It's just kind of like driving that bass further. So that's kind of what we start out with. And then we have these chords here. We have two. This is also the synth voice. Let's see. We have fourths here. So we have a stack of fourths. And then while the bass stays the same, we go up to up a minor third. And then a power chord down to A. Now this is a fourth again. So this is kind of this is something he used a lot in DK2. It's like a sort of a thing where in Disco Train he went the. No, wait, that was what did he did that in Forest Interlude. He has this. Because in Forest Interlude he also went like in C minor. Up a third. Down a fourth. So it's the same basic interval, the same basic movement as you're going here. You're doing fourths, but you're going up a third. You're going B, up a third, down a fourth, and then back again. So it's this kind of minor key movement in the chords. And then you have that guitar going at the top, way high up. It gives it this sort of like really chilling sound, right? Making the same movement. And it's just the same note that was at the top of these dyads here, going up. And this E, G, D. And then it goes up to B in the last part. So it's kind of finishing it off with a little bit of tension. Okay, and then we have, so we all together, that's like a... So you have all these pads and bass going at it. It's really chilling way to start the scene. And then we have this harp. Oh, this one's actually it. So this is basically outlining a G major 7 chord. Except that you have the seventh in the bass. But these are all basically notes of a chord, so he's outlining a chord again, which Dave does a lot. He does a lot of outlining of chords. And then he goes down, and it's this idea that we had in aquatic ambience of like, of going up a minor second and then down a fourth, except he's doing it in E here. He's doing... And this is actually a major third here, so it's not quite the same, but it's still that same idea of like you have a major and minor intervals. It's very cool to do that. Very nice and emotional to do that. Let's see, we got some conversation in here. I love how this track incorporated the sound design of a factory into an intense and suspended yet emotional feel with the EDM vibe. Yes. And I heard David Wise play this live in concert with a guitar. It was incredible. Ooh, okay. That's awesome. I think he's been doing some concerts recently. I have to complete the first part of the analysis. Was doing other stuff. Couldn't get to it yet. Ah, yes. Oh, sorry about that. I saw David Wise in concert last year with his band. It was brilliant. Yes. Will you remaster DKC3 GBA? If I can find, if the sources get discovered, it's currently a big mystery what like a lot of the sounds he used are. I don't know if there's enough to restore even one song yet. I have to look into it more. Fear Factory is the best song to do a bench press and squats to. Yeah, it gets that blood pumping like an EDM song. All right, so that's that kind of riff. That's what that's doing, and then we have these drums coming in here. This is the this high part here is sort of the snare going up like 2 octaves or almost 2 octaves. And it's making like a side stick hit, like when you hit the snare with the stick on the side instead of the actual drum. Just hit it on the rim, like a rim snare. Sort of giving that sound. And then you have reverberated toms. It sort of sounds like it's trying to be those 80s like. So it's definitely emulating rototoms, because rototoms are basically toms, but they go a lot higher pitched than you have on a drum set. So if you have, like, I think I have a thing that does this. Where's my rototoms? Oh yeah, this one. This is way too quiet. Basically just really high-pitched reverberated toms, and this was made popular on the Dark Side of the Moon by oh man, I'm blanking on the name. Dark Side of the Moon did this with oh, why can't I think of that band now? Famous band. But here's their logo from the album. They made this instrument popular. And so that's kind of what he's doing here, but it also kind of sounds like those 80s synth toms. If I can find an example of that. Here, I don't know which drum machine popularly featured it. So it kind of sounds like it, but it's not really. There's like a popular 80s synth tom that I don't have an example of right now. But it's also kind of sounds like that. And then they go into... So he goes into like he repeating the harp again. And then he goes into this main drum beat. So this here is... The tom is like is an octave lower than regular pitch, so it's got this deeper bass feeling because the sub is resting at this instead of this, so it gives this deeper bass feeling is what he's doing here. And then when the main snare comes in, that is also an octave lower. It's made, not only is it making the snare longer, but it's also sounding like those EDM snares that they used to have. It's like they were all kind of in that general range. So he's sort of emulating that drum machine's EDM snare. And then he has the high sticks going at it a little more rapidly. And then we have that great marimba line. So this is going from between thirds and fourths. I think it's actually, this is the only thirds we have. The rest is in fourths. So it's an ascending fourths line. And for the marimba. Actually, this is thirds too. It sort of sounds Asian too, in a way. It's like, because Asian music a lot of times would use like plucks like this, pluck instruments, in fourths or fifths. So if you did it on the black keys, it would be like, that's what they usually did. It would be like. Sort of has that classic Asian sound. Let's see, I was going to say that tom you're thinking of is the Lindrum tom, which is popularized by Prince in the Minneapolis sound by replacing the stock samples for that same extended range of pitch. Ah, okay, is that the one? I do have a Lindrum sample, some Lindrum samples here. No, this is definitely an acoustic tom. The one I'm thinking of is like a synthy tom. I'm talking about this one, right? The Akai Lindrum. Or maybe it's this. Wow, there's like multiple Lindrums. Everybody called their thing a Lindrum. Oh yeah, this is it. This is a synth tom. It's basically like it's pitch. It's just falls down pitch artificially. See how everything's like moving downward. So a lot of times producers would just take this tom sample. So that's kind of what he's also riffing off of here. And that's an acoustic tom. Nice. I did not know that. That's a bit of trivia for me. I'll have to listen to that song now. Snare, I think, may also be a nod to Prince's pitched gated snare samples. Ah, okay, yeah, gated. I'm familiar with gated snare samples from the 80s. That was also invented by Phil Collins, actually. The parallel thirds have a Kodo vibe for sure. Yeah, the parallel fourths and thirds. It starts out with parallel thirds. These first two are parallel thirds, and then these are fourths. And I think Asian music uses some parallel thirds too, so he's switching between fourths and thirds. Da, 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 do. It also kind of reminds me of the Rugrats theme with the... something like that. Like that. And then it just kind of repeats like with a nice round line, like it. So it ends on. So it ends on G and D, and then the next line goes down to G, D, and A, and that has a very nice round, like because it's sort of like sounds like a question and answer. Da 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 do. So it has that nice, and it sounds nice because this is basically outlining a G chord, which is the root note of the major key. Instead, if we're in E minor, that would be the same notes as G major. And so the G major would be the major root chord. And then we have the D. This is the next phrase is outlining a D chord, which is the fourth. So it kind of has this nice resolution. And if we were in D, this would be the fifth. So you would have a 5-1 in that. So yeah, and since this is the second phrase, it's kind of like we're playing around with a D major resolution. Which D major and G major are kind of related since they only have one note difference. The C, it's a G major uses C instead of C sharp. But so this is kind of playing with a resolution where we go from G, E. Although that would be 4 ones, but it still sounds nice. Very like nursery rhymey doing that. Very folksy, I guess. And then we have this dun 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 dun, and then we go up to finish us off, and then we have that nice string part here, like foreboding strings that lead to the next part. And this is a let's see, this is. Oh, I need the controller to be disabled for this. Wherever that may be. It's not there for some reason. I guess it's, oh yeah, because there's no controller, it's just automation. So we have F sharp at the top, B, and then G at the bottom. So that's basically a G7 chord, but he omits the fifth to save channels. And then he goes into, he just adds he does the same thing over again. Whoa, why isn't it coming back? Wow, my right click is not working for some reason. Whoa, what is going on? I can't even enable this. Oh, there it goes. Wow, what is happening? I wouldn't be surprised if we crash here. So then we go into we have a violin here. It sounds off pitch. Something's wrong about that. Is that my violin? This is in Donkey Kong Country. I think it latched onto the wrong one. Wow, why is that not showing up? Oh well, but you get the point. It's like this line is basically once again outlining G major 7. So you have the F sharp going down inverted into the bass. But it's actually omitting the third, so it's only really playing. So it's that same thing we kind of did with the harp, where it was like and then we started playing around with that general chord, and then we resolved to E. And something I didn't cover yet. Oh, hold on, let me read it. Minneapolis sound is not playing song, but rather a production technique at the moment. Nice. Hey Sam, any interest in interviewing David Wise? He's done interviews for channels smaller than yours, and I feel you're probably one of the most well-equipped people to do the interview justice. I honestly didn't think he would consider an interview. I don't even, I'm not really sure. I would have to think of some questions to ask. I don't know if I could afford that or if he charges for interviews. I didn't know that he like interviews for small channels. I've seen his interviews, but I never knew that they were smaller than mine. I might have to consider that. So you will not find a song. Your Factory is such an awesome track. Yes, it is. Welcome, Donut 360. This is way more in depth with the harmonics and functions of the licks and the riffs than I have ever gotten with DKC. Thanks for hosting this. You're welcome, Soraxo. Welcome, Soraxo. Welcome to the stream. Sounds like maybe a minor ninth. I'm not great with identifying my chords on the upper tensions. It's not as far as a ninth. This is a seventh. So the F sharp. If we go back to the piano roll here, the the G would be the root here, and then we have a fifth, and then seventh. So this would be a seventh. A ninth would be an A. So you would have to do. So you could do that. That would be a cool little tidbit. That would be a ninth right there. He acknowledges you're a master you're a masterwork, including yours in his interview in the past. That would make for an interesting conversation. Ah, yes, it would. That'll be an idea for another day. Yes. I'll have to think of some questions and maybe ask. That would be a lot of fun, I think. Now, why do I have it in the sixth? Okay, and then we resolve to E, and this is because this is something I forgot to cover. There's a bass, and the wave sequence and the bass both do so they do a quick switch up to the note A, to the A note. And this is the fourth of the scale, so we're basically going from 4. So we're basically going 1-4-1. It's not quite as strong as a 5-1. But we do get to that in another part of the song. So we just stick to. So it's not quite as like happy, I guess. It's a little bit more subtle. So that's why in the marimba in particular we go to so with this new bass in A, we can hypothesize that so he's doing let me zoom in more here so I can see what this being like. We're going fourth in on B, thirds on D, thirds, minor thirds again, fourths. So we're kind of doing. It's not really following any kind of chord progression, but it is changing the focus a little bit because whereas now we were focused on there's a lot of like G's and E's, F sharp, D, A in here, whereas here we're more focusing on actually we are focusing on kind of the same thing, except we have some E's in here as well, so which is part of the E chord if we were to draw a chord from the bass. So we're introducing a little more. Well, actually there was some E's here, so it's not really. I don't think this really reflects the change as much. But it is just put in a different context. So that's pretty cool. Now the violin, let's check that out. what that's doing around the time that the note chord changes, or just the bass. There's really no chord right now. So this is where does the chord change? Something's really off with. I'm gonna have to fix that. Something's really off with that. Everything kind of went out of whack when I switched to Google Drive. Some things went out. So here's the change. Here we go down to C with. So that C is the switch to A minor, because we're implying here with the bass A minor. So the bass is going up to A, and then we have this C. That's like the third. So that's So that's really rolling with the change. And so then we're also focusing on this A up here. We're leading up to A, which is the bass note, and then we go back to E with the bass note here, and we reflect that change with an E in the violin. That's kind of where that's going. And then everything changes. We drop out the drums, and then what is the bass doing here? The bass. Let me actually check. The violin sounds like maybe the violin attack takes a bit longer in the original patch to settle into the pitch. Always like bouncing into each note. Yeah, that's because in the original it was like a single cycle waveform, so there was no like attack or anything except created by the volume changes. But this is like I used the full sample, but I think it's like the wrong one got gone into whenever I changed the location of the drive. Music knowledge. Okay. Does the seventh of that chord function as the ninth of the key? It does kind of function as the ninth of the key, technically. Yeah, you are right. It does function as the ninth of the key because it would be because we're technically in E major here, in E minor here. So that would make the F sharp the ninth if you go from root, third, fifth, seventh, and ninth. So that F sharp would be the ninth of the scale. I was focusing too much on the chord itself, because they didn't use an E in there, but the E is in the bass, so the E establishes it as solid. That one. So now what we're doing here with this bass is that we're going to oh, it's over here. Okay, so we have C, A, C, A, E. So what we're doing here is the C is basically, it looks like we're building, if we're in E still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6, 5, 4, 6, 5, 4. That looks like we're alluding to. 6, 5, 4. Wait, no, 6, 5, 1. 6, 5, 1, not 4, my bad. E is the 1 chord. So let's see if that's what we're doing, if we're upholding that. Let's see. Welcome, Arvin Gordon. Welcome to the stream. My favorite song. Welcome, music creator capable. Can you do that track? Can you do these track 3D sound? No, I don't know how to do 3D sound. That's I don't have the I only have stereo speakers, so I can't really mix in 3D sound. I've never really done that. Share FLP. FLP is listed in the description. If you look, there's a link to the project hub, and if you go into the restored tracks folder, the FLP is included in that. Now this is the exact project. Exactly what I'm working off of. So you'll have the same project file. Go to Donkey Kong Country, and then all the FLP files are here, with the next to the recordings. You can find that. Oh shit! I've watched your vids like 10 million times. Thank you, Soul Stone Seeker. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have your watching now on live. The quality would be wonderful if it can involve 3D sound. It would be great. I don't have the capability of that. I think you need like 3 dimensional speaker setup. That would require a lot of money, which I don't have if that's true. So someone else can do that, but they can use the FLP, and then if they want to design that, they can make an offset of it. That would be a great YouTube venture for open for someone else. 9 chord omitting the root and seventh is pretty esoteric. This is sort of a analysis a bit above my experience, but probably makes some more sense to interpret the notes that are actually there. Yeah, I think it's you can interpret the notes that are in the context of a single line, which is what I was doing with that violin. Let's see, where's my violin or viola? But if you do it within the, so it would be the seventh, it would be the ninth, third, seventh, ninth, third, fifth, no, seventh, and so we're actually omitting the fifth here. We're never playing the fifth. The fifth would be this B here. So yeah, so we're playing ninth, third, seventh, ninth, third, seventh, but never the B. So I'm loving these live streams. I leave it in the background while I work on stuff. Thank you, Dusan. I'm glad you found a use for it as background. Listen to the soothing sound of Jam and Sam. Coming to you live from KDFM. Wait, you can get the tracks. You can get the tracks. You mean like the stems? Like it's like you can make stems here if you want. It's like just solo this part and then export like that. One of these, yep. These days, I want to make a game that is close to the renders of the original games. There is somebody on YouTube that is currently doing that for the maps. I think that isn't that Samuel Cazetta. He's been doing some great stuff in Unreal Engine, and so has like Blob Van Dam has been doing some of that. The only problem with the renders is that they used like some of the techniques that they used. So that software that they used, Silicon Graphics, was intended for movies. It wasn't intended for games. So the renders that they were doing were taking forever. It was take lots of computational power. So the idea of doing that, and it would take like hours, it would take days back in that day. So the idea of doing that in a game now is like inconceivable even on currents, because you have to render like on the spot. You have to be rendering in with no lag where you can play the game like that. So that is like impossible even today, because the techniques that they were using allowed for, normally in renders you have polygons, like you have straight lines connecting these things, but the Silicon Graphics did something called NURBS, which allowed for curved lines. Like, so it allowed for a polygon to be curved, which once you curve, like a line doesn't take a lot of computational power. Once you curve that line, you have to calculate the curvature of that line for all the time. That takes like an exponential amount of computational power, because you're basically drawing a line for each part of that curve, and you're making it an image. So that's like impossible to do today. So nothing will ever look like it. Like you'll never have that look in a game, but you can render I think the best situation to create a game, to create the Donkey Kong style now, would also be to render the graphics, like to re-render the graphics as sprites, because you're just not going to get a 3D animation like in real time. This like to play the same way that you would even today. Thank you for making these, Jammin. You're welcome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for enjoying them. I forgot who is doing the renders, but I've seen them all, so yes. Unreal 5 could possibly make the look. Yeah, the Unreal 5 got pretty close. Like what Samuel Cazetta is doing in Unreal 5. He did Fear Factory, and he did Lockjaw's Saga, and that looked amazing. Just looks crazy, crazy awesome. Love it. And so anyway, so with this, I think we were at the chords now, chords of that section, that chill out section. So these chords exist over here. We have, oh wait, I need to reset the volume again. So we have so basically if we analyze these alone, it's C major. I don't know why this is here. And then we go up to A minor inverted with the A on the top. And then we go up to E minor. So with the bass, that sounds like, see, the bass was, so that's definitely a C major chord. And then we have A minor, so that's still an A minor chord where the bass is the root note. And then we have E minor. So those chords are honest. We have basically like root note chords. We have a C in the bass, A in the bass, and E. So the reason he does it inverted on the A minor is because he wants to lead up to this. So if you did it with all root notes in the strings, it would be going down. Which doesn't really work as well. You want to lead it up so it gets a natural vibe. So that's nice. It's like a nice relaxing string line. And then we have this melody line played by the synth voice, the Airvox. And it's going up high this time. Previously when we heard it, it was down here. Now it's up here. And we're going from... So we're always ending on this E note. And let's see here. So this first part, this G, we're kind of outlining independently. Sort of, we're using B. So we're kind of outlining this would be a ninth in the key of a seventh in the key of C major. This B would be a ninth, would be a seventh, and then we have a fifth of the chord, and then this is not in the chord, so it's just a brief accidental. And then we go to A minor with a E. E is the fifth, so we're using the fifth in the melody. And then we have the seventh, G, and then an accidental on D, and then we go to E, which is the root. So we're resolving to the root here. When we hit that E the first time, we hit it in the context of A minor, so that's a fifth. It's not until we hit it again, he hits it so it's familiar, but it's in a different context. So he's repeating that E. Now, in the second time, it has more finality because it not only is it the root chord of the scale, but it's also the root note of the chord. So it has a lot of finality there. And then in the piano, we're doing it's a really high-pitched piano, all the way up to C8, like to the 8th octave. Let's see. All the way up here. We're going up to B and G. So again, we're riffing off of that, what is it, C in it's 7th and 5th. But then when we get to the second part, Now we're in the context of E minor, so this is actually now a fifth and a seventh. Actually, no, it's a fifth and a ninth. Cool. Let's see. Raycasting in real time downsample to compress sprites would be hilariously over engineered, but I kind of love it. Yeah. So that was kind of raycasting would be another issue. While raycasting would look great, it looks great in real time. They definitely didn't have the capability of that in the 90s. So that looks a lot. That's going to even like transcend the quality of the that they had in the 90s and give it more of a realism. And they used a lot of high contrast lighting in the game, so that high contrast lighting and ray tracing would look really nice, I think. But to like export that in sprites would probably kind of ruin it a little bit. Actually, no. If the light is always hitting at the same place, it wouldn't be too much of a difference. But the natural light, and in 3D, and like if you do real time 3D, the light can move around based on your perspective. If you're using rendered graphics, you can't do that. But one thing that you could do is you could use those the rendered graphics would work well in the backgrounds because you would basically be exporting the backgrounds as a whole. So you in the game they use tiles to draw the backgrounds. They basically like exported the renders and then cut them up into tiles in the game and then just drew tiles around. So you would basically be exporting the the renders of the backgrounds in huge tiles, like huge tile, in like in huge no, in just like one long bitmap, one long map. So that would be a very high quality resolution, a very high resolution thing. Or you could just animate the background, um, have that run in real time, but not use NURBS. So that would be conceivable. People way to do that. I want to visit in VR one day. Ooh, that would be nice. I don't want the sprites. I want the game to look like the renders or as close. Well, the game is gonna have. You can't have the game's renders in real time. Like those. That's the point. Is like that NURBS thing that they did with the curved polygons. You can't do that in real time, even by computational standards today. It's just not conceivable. Like you can't have that much computational power. That's going to be years in advance that we're going to be able to do that. So it's a workaround really to have the sprites. The sprites is a workaround. You can either have the sprites with the NURBS, with the curvatures, or not have the curvatures, which is basically what Bob Van Dam is doing. He's just not using the NURBS, and he's doing the best to recreate it in real time. And it doesn't give you quite the same look, but it does get pretty close. And then Samuel Cazetta is doing great things, but he doesn't have the sprites, so that's like not. That's why the sprites are a lot more intricate than the backgrounds. He's basically just doing the background. The violin sounds different. It does sound different. So for some reason something's wrong with this. I don't know what it is. So I think it got kind of ruined in the Switch, but it's what we've got now. So it'll work for analysis. Pondering the sample section. Yes. Full sample and going single cycle. I think it's even not the same full cycle. I think something got because when I switched to Google Drive, something messed up. Definitely. So anyway, what's next? So we have this arpeggio that is going up in the Vox sample. Where's that? This one right here. So this is it's once again doing that same sort of like E arpeggio. So we're doing that same thing we did in the harp because this is doing, and the harp was doing so we have that same, but we're doing it in a really high pitch with the voice with the synth box. And we're doing it, so he does it once in this octave, and then he jumps an octave and does it again. And then he goes up. Once again, this is like kind of the same as the... But except he's going a little bit up and touching that A. Kind of similar to the harp line. Basically, there's like a trend here, using those same notes. You can kind of see these. He uses this kind of minor second, and like going down a bit to a major or perfect interval a lot. He does that a lot. Okay, and then we have... We repeat that melody one more time. And then we go back to that wave sequence bass. And you have that. So now it's picking up energy again. And then we have this horn. So this horn is doing... We have this pseudo reverse effect. Like the horns are leading in. Which is something a lot of times that you do in EDM, where you have like... You do a reverse of the sound to lead into the real sound. But he's kind of doing that trick. The SNES couldn't do a reverse, but it could... He's just like using attack to remove the transient and then lead into it. So this chord we're doing right here is... This is just a stack of fourths right here. It's like fourth from B, E, and A. And then he's sticking with the B and E on the bottom, and then he's like using the top to play a melody. And then we're going up to D major. This is a D major inverted chord with the D at the top. And then we're resolving to E again. This is an E minor chord. It's basically a non-objective fourth stack, and then we resolve to E minor. E minor. Yes, I think that's a non-objective. It's kind of like, you could call this an A sus4 if you wanted. A sus2 if you wanted. But it's a fourth stack, basically. Stack of fourths. So that's pretty cool. And in context, that sounds like... And he's also following this with the snares. The snares follow this sort of pattern to give it a hit sound. So in the drum beat, he's like following that to give it sort of an orchestral hit sound. Sort of sounds like an orchestra hit. And then we go back into the marimba again. Let's see. Nice. Yeah, Blob Seekers. Yeah, he did a good job. I did a different sound. Did it sound different previously? How about that? I think it did. I have to look into that, because that doesn't sound right to me now. In this moment. There was a website that I found they had a lot of decent mock-ups of three-dimensional Donkey Kong characters. It was used in one of those YouTube people's past eyes where they were in the first map. Ah, okay. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, back at it again. Or what are we restoring today? We are analyzing the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack. So no restoration today. This is pure musical analysis for the music music buffs here, fellow music buffs, and people and fellow DKC fans. Welcome, Grandmaster Azur. So yeah, we're just analyzing the soundtrack. I have another live stream of this, part 1. We've been going through it, so you can check that out if this interests you. This is a review, so yes, okay. All right, so this song, I think that's pretty much the song there. Like it just goes into the violin, it just does like a chorus thing with the marimba and violin, and then it repeats right straight back from the start. So that's cool. Now we can go into. I know that I don't think that guy that wanted Ice Cave Chant is here, so we'll go into a Gangplank Galleon, and then if he's not here, after that we'll just go right into we'll just go right into Ice Cave Chant, and then he can watch it later. Hey, so speaking of PC restorations, have you thought about updating the Sickerbush Symphony in the future? I think it's the oldest one in your playlist. I could do that. I haven't really been keeping up to date with it, but I could update the video, do like a 2024 edit. That could be cool. I forgot about that one. That one's pretty old. Hey, can you do Ridge Chief Thunder theme from arcade? It's the only was the only one not included in the Killer Cuts OST. Hi, Solaire. Welcome to the stream. If you want, so I don't really take requests. If you want to do, but you can commission me to restore a song. It's if the song can be restored, if all the sources are discovered, it's like $50 for a song. So, or $100 depending on how complicated it is. I think I'm trying to ask for $100 now, but if people can only do 50, then that's okay. Because these things take a lot of research. I end up taking a whole day like just to do this. So, like just to do one single song is like I'm spending all day doing it because of the research that goes into like compiling all the sounds, and then the actual restoring takes like 3 hours. And then I don't factor the video into that because that's basically covered under my. I'm just doing that for my YouTube work. But it pretty much takes all day. So I'm usually asking people for $100 now, but if they can only do 50, that's okay. I tend to like work with I like to be able to work with people's budgets, but 50 is like the minimum that I would do that for. Do something like that for. Gangplank Galleon is hype. Fits for a final boss so well. Yeah, there's a lot to get into with Gangplank Galleon, so I'm excited to get into that. All right. So the first thing is the pirate part, like that big So that's basically like an Irish folk band. Like you have your harmonica, which is basically actually supposed to be a concertina. In the pirate days, I think concertinas were popular. So a concertina is an instrument that does sound similar to this. It's a reedy accordion-like instrument that really like works well with the harmonica sound. And kind of what, and this is also like if you listen to there's a game called Pirates for the NES, which Dave composed for, which this is basically taken verbatim from. And if you go and listen to the theme from that, this is basically that in NES waves. So he kind of just pulled that theme forward. And it's in F major, which is what the main Donkey Kong theme is. So he's kind of sticking to the same scale that is that we used in the intro. And let's see. So here we're going. He's basically playing around with the F major chord. And then leading into it with like D and E and all that. He's basically like bouncing between that notes in that chord. And then within the melody and in the harmony, we have a like two A's. So we have this is basically an F major chord without the D, so it's just an F power chord. And then we're going to C, a C power chord. And so what does this mean? What does this mean in context? This is our old friend 451. 451, this is the fourth chord in the scale. So if we're in the scale of F, 1, 2, 3, 4. A sharp is the fourth chord. And then C is the fifth chord. So we're doing 4, 5, 1, 4, 4, 5, 1. So 4, 5, 1 is like the oldest chord progression ever. That's what they use in folk music and also Irish folk music, which is why he's using it here. And if you want to get into music, that's the easiest thing to learn is 4, 5, 1. The easiest and most satisfying thing to learn. That's been used for millennia in folk music and classical music everywhere. So that's like a tried and true. It's always going to sound good. So he's doing that in the harmony. He's basically like... And then he goes to C, to a quick C, like a big C chord. So that's going to the 5 again. So when C resolves to 1, he goes 5. So we're doing this. And then in the viola, he bends up to this C to give it a real like na. But if you didn't bend up to this, it would sound a little plain like that. So that bend really helps to like na, give it some passion. And then he goes into the full swing. So it's like a chill. You have this pacing of like dun 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 dun, and then you have a one single chord, legato chord, bum, and then you go into this full swing, which is really cool, like pacing. So in the violin, we're doing. So we are doing an A here. So we're basically playing around with A. This is probably either F major or A minor. And then in the harmonica here, we're doing like an under melody, so it's likely supposed to be another violin. Because a lot of times they would, like Irish music was very based on violin, so maybe they would have a chord of the violin. And we're establishing F major here, definitely. We're sort of outlining an F major. So we're definitely starting in F, starting back on the 1. So we're going from 4, 5, 1, 5, 1. Starting on 1. And then in the bass here with the concertina type instrument, we're doing... We're basically just playing with the 5 power, with the 1 power chord. And then in the top here with this high-pitched instrument where it's a flute. So this is like a penny whistle, like an Irish tin whistle. Ireland had like this tin whistle sound, which he's basically emulating here with this high-pitched pan flute. And this is basically outlining just another 1 chord, right? So we're basically just playing around with that. And then we move to the 4 again. We have the A sharp, which is the 4 chord. And then we're kind of moving into 1 here. Kind of moving back into 1. So we're briefly going to 4, and then we're going back to 1 with this F chord. So we're like doing, that's a common thing that they do in Irish music, where it's like they'll do 1, 4, 1 really quickly. It's also present in Jib Jig. They do this really fast, like 1 to 4, 1 switches. That's how it kind of builds energy. Keeps on going 1, 4, 1, 4, and then it saves the 5 for the big finish. So in the viola, and then he's going down to F, which is the 5th of the 4 chord. So we're going up to the 3rd, and then in the second violin, we're doing a 3rd here. This is the 3rd of the chord. Up to the 5th, back down to the 3rd. So we're doing basically like harmonizing in 3rds here with that second violin. Or it could be 1 violin that's just doing 3rds. I don't know exactly how the violin works. I think you can do that. And then we're just doing the 4 chord in the bass. But we're going back up to the 1 in the tin whistle, and in the violin, the two violins. This is the one chord, but we're not going back into it with the bass, which is interesting because we're basically establishing this. That makes this like a 7 chord, technically. So we're kind of leading, and we go back to the 4. We go back to the 1 here. We're basically doing 1 4 1 in single bars, but we go early in the melody, so it's kind of like foreboding leading up to that. And then we go dun, dun, and so we repeat that phrase. And then we go into this same resolution that we did before with the 4 5 1. So we're basically doing 1 1 1 1 1 5 4 4 4 4 1 1 1 1 4 5 1 for that strong resolution. So they bring that 5th in there for a brief moment to really strengthen the resolution. Nice. So it's basically calling back to basically a more full version of what we had in the beginning. Okay, and so he's basically, see, this is the exact same line in the bass, pretty much. Dun, 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 dun. And then in here, we're kind of changing it. Instead of going, we're doing dun, 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 dun. We're changing the melody a little bit. Something like that. Nice. And then we go down to this. Here, let me read chat first. Oh, fellow Dark Soul. Fair price for a day's work. Yeah, all in a day's work. Gangplank, yeah. Welcome, Quico. Am I saying that right? Quico. The intro of this song is like a preview for DKC2. Yes, DKC2 does a lot of that that 1-4-1. So in the key of D minor, though, you're doing, instead of doing, we're doing. This is basically so 4 1. So it's like 1 da, 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 4 1 4 1, and then 2 major 5. So we're doing a little bit more fun stuff there. We'll get back into that when we get to DK2. Good old music theory 101. Music was my major in college. Nice. Yeah, it's a great thing to major in. I think this would be a little more than 101. But definitely 451 is, well, no, right here, 451 is basically, we're just sticking to 101 here. What we've been doing with going into the 7ths, probably it goes beyond that, the 7ths and 9ths. This is a good play. This is a good price. I'll definitely look into that. Thank you. Yeah, I hope to see a commission from you. I look forward to it. We'll have to see. I'll have to make sure that that particular game is doable first. So I'll message me on Discord, and I'll get to researching about that to let you know if it is possible. I don't know if it's possible. Places have to be sometimes there's like the sounds are not discoverable. Like I don't know where they came from, so I can't do the song. Anyway, so now this chord here we're going into is a little different. This is like has a G in it. This is this is basically we're doing that slide up to C again. Oh wait, no, this is the different part. Doing something different here. This time we're in the viola, we're sliding up to F from the E. And then in the C, we're actually, this is like not even in the scale. Look at this. This is like a C sharp. What is this? And we have in the concertina like a A. So basically this is an A major chord. No, this is we're sliding up to, this is in A augmented chord, actually. We also have an F in the bass, too. This isn't, wait, no, this is, yeah, this is F augmented. And so why do we use this? Because one reason could be why he uses it instead of going... He uses this to kind of jar you into like this raised fifth up to C sharp is kind of going into... we're going into a different section, so he wants to like just make something really jarring. And also, if we were in D minor, which is the relative minor of the scale, actually it's the same notes as, which has the same notes as F. This is like the leading tone. So a lot of times minor keys will use the leading tone to lead back up to the 1. So that also could be an explanation, but it's a stretch. But actually, he's kind of, the rest of the song does transition into D minor, so that could be an explanation. Seems like a logical choice. And we're also kind of breaking the rhythm here. Here he does a bar of like break, but here it just does like this is 1 bar, and then he goes straight into it. So this is like basically a half bar, and he's going back in. This is like the first beat. So we're switching here to like resetting the beat. So it's kind of, this is also further like breaking the form of like regular folk music and just doing something jarring by having a half a bar instead of a full bar. And then we go into, we already dropped out the flute. The flute stops, or the tin whistle. So we're doing, oh, the violin actually drops out too. And we just have that second violin or the harmonica. Now we're in D minor. See, so that leading tone, that C sharp, starts to make more sense because we're kind of in D minor here. We're doing, and then we're leading up. So the strongest resolution, if 5 is the strongest resolution in major, then 7 is the strongest resolution in minor. Although you could also do in major, like, let's see. You could do that in major too, but that's why the leading tone exists in minor, because D minor does not have a C sharp in the scale. But we introduce that leading tone because it gives us that same strong resolution as if we went from in F major from E to F. So it sort of introduces that. Basically why he's using that here, because we're leading up to D major. It's basically kind of a key change. We're not in a key change yet, but we're doing this. This is basically the third now, because in the bass here we're doing this A major. We're just like, so this is technically still the 4th. So we're going to the 4th, and we're starting from the 4th, which is not standard for folk music. We're basically going from 4 to 1 to 4. So we're going from 4 to 1 to back again. We're switching it around. We're going backwards. So we're turning a lot of things on their heads here, as far as like we're venturing out of the folksy Irish form. So we're basically going from... So we're using this 3rd and 5th from the chord, and then we're going down to the 5th of the 1 chord, which is F major. And then we're going... So we're basically doing a lot of playing around here. This A sharp major we're hanging around in is like not in that chord. So we're kind of like destabilizing everything here. And then we're leading back into that 4th. And then we just start rising, right? Like we're in like see, G. We're in G, like we're just doing a 3rd in G here. We have this B. We're basically just rising up. This B is not even in the scale of F major. This is in C major. I'm modulating to C major with this, which is the only note difference in the scale of C major from F to C is this B, this A sharp to B. So it's not a huge jarring change, but... And then we're basically establishing D here because we have the D in the melody. And then we have G and B in the bass, so that establishes G major. So we're basically going from F, rising up to G. And then we go up even further. We go up to, what is this? This is, we're going into C major here. So we're basically resolving, this is, if G major is the fifth, is the 5 chord of C, so we're basically doing a 5-1 to C, sort of. So we're modulating up to C a little bit with a little bit of jarriness. And then we're going up to A major, which is also that it's the 5th of D minor with a leading tone. So we're kind of leading up to, this is all modulating up to D minor, really. Because we have this A major, which is not in the scale of D minor unless it's A minor, unless you include this leading tone, which gives us a strong resolution to D. So this D, so if you go from A, 5 to 1, this 5 major to 1 is a lot stronger of a resolution than if you went from 5 minor to 1. It's a little stronger. See, it's got that more instability. A major has more of instability in the key of D minor than A minor would. So instead of doing that, we do it's sort of a little bit stronger of a resolution. And then there's some other layers to this, but we're basically still like the violin is just kind of trailing off and going in with that 1, 4, with that 1, and then we're going to 4 again. We're going back in, so the violin is kind of trying to continue that folk tradition, Irish folk tradition. And then we're doing, and in that first part we have some drums now, right? We have a drum set, some tom drums. And then we have these strings come in. These strings are coming in during the, what is this, the 1 chord? During the 4 chord. So in the bass, it still has the context of that 4 chord. And in the strings, we're doing what? This A way up here, and F up here. So this is A is a 7th of the 4 chord. So we're establishing this 7th and 5th way up here. And then we have a D in the mid-range. So there's a D is the 3rd. And then in the bass we have this. But that's happening with the concertina doing rhythmic stuff. So basically it's a B flat major 7. And the concertina is the bass is kind of the only one doing this rise. And also the melody is doing it as well. But the strings are ignoring this because they're going into a new section. They're not following the folk tradition. This is like an ominous way to introduce the next section. And then you have this massive synth bass coming in, which is also, once again, that synth voice. Where is it? Probably I put it into the bass package. So you have this one long bass note in D, further establishing that we're going to D minor. You have this big ominous. Oops. And then you have that electric guitar doing D. Going from 7 to 1. This is like a kind of a blues thing where you do. It's kind of a little bluesy thing to do. So really smooth transition here to the rock section. And then you have this part that's interesting, but first let me read chat. see. Let's see. Where did you find the old SGI renders used on your DKC video thumbnail? So most of the thumbnails most of the videos should have a link to the thumbnail. For the most part, I went to DKC Atlas, and they have like a gallery there, and I just used the renders that they have in their gallery. But they should be linked in the most of the newer videos should have them linked in the description. But if I didn't get them from there, I probably got them from dkvine.com, or I just Google searched. Let's see. Queda muy bien. I think that means Queda means stay, doesn't it? Like Queda, stay very good. Or maybe it's like dear, very good. Quedar. Something like that. My Spanish is not very good. Love your work. Thank you, Dan Man. Well, thank you. Welcome to the stream. All right, so now we're fully into this section, and then we come in with something that has a wrong root note here. I think it's that acoustic bass. There we go. So we're layering that acoustic bass with the electric guitar chug, or like a strong. It's supposed to be like a bass guitar, like a really heavy rock bass guitar. We're using an upright bass. So what are we doing here? We're going from D to A sharp to C. And so what this is actually directly the exact verbatim, like almost verbatim bass line for Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden. And they go into it, like if you skip a minute into the song, you'll hear them go into this exact bass line. I think the rhythm is pretty similar too. Basically, what this is doing is it's like a very folksy. This is also kind of a different folksy Irish type thing, where you go from in the minor key. It's sort of like the minor equivalent of 4-5-1. You do 1, 6, 7, 1. So it's like the 6th of the scale. 7, 1. It's kind of creates this strong resolution because you're doing dum 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 dum. And one song that I know that this is used, not this one in particular, but if we go to here, let me get my piano. There's a song called that is gaining popularity now. It's a New Zealand wailing song, which is called what was it called? But the chord progression was like, I forgot what the name of the song is, but it's like. I forgot. Can't remember the song. I learned it a little bit. It's like the Wellerman song or something like that. So no, it was like, soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and well, whoops, messed that up. I'm already ending for this, so let's see. We'll take our leave and go. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. So that's basically 6, 7, 1. This is a very strong resolution in minor, and that's what he's using here. Is this so he's ending on the 4 chord is just resolves back to the 1, and then we start on the 1 again. It's a nice round looping chord progression. Let's see. It's cool to see the thought process behind all these tracks. Thank you, Laffy Taffy. Welcome. How very good, I believe, is a usable translation. How very good. So it's like sort of the tan thing. Yeah, okay. So okay, how very good. Nice. That makes sense. I believe that. Okay, so we're kind of doing this like 1, 6, 7, 1, and then back to 1 transition. So it's kind of like we're establishing that. And in the drums, we basically have some low toms. The root note of the tom is up here. We're kind of pitching them down for like some really heavy booming toms. And then the kick is even more than a octave down. So where we did an octave, like basically this D in the factory, now we're doing it down to A for a really low bass thump. So we have the toms going on the offbeats. So we're basically doing like we're syncopating the toms, which means that we're not hitting the normal beats. Like this is like the normal beats would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Actually, I need to put a time marker here because the downbeat changes here. This would be like 1, 2, 3, and 4, like the kicks are doing. The kicks and snares are doing 1, snare on 2, another kick on 3, and then another kick, and then a snare on 4. But the toms are doing what's called in the musician world. We go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and so on. So this one's doing and. So it's like syncopating it. It's on the offbeats. So you have these kicks and snares grounding you in the on even beats, or the odd beats, and then the even beats or off beats you have the tom, the deep tom. And the snare is also an octave down, which is actually higher than the factory theme, you know. And then we have the hi-hats. Hi-hats are doing the on beats too, so it's going with the kick and snare. And then you have these varying some pitches and stuff. So that's kind of a thing they would do in rock, where it was like they would hit the hi-hat at the same time as the kick and snare to give it like this effect. It's very much a rock drum beat. Okay, so moving on, we have this bass line coming in, and then we hang out on this bass line for one round. And then we have the guitar doing this. So this is cool. Kind of what he's doing here is we start on the 5th of the D chord, right? So this would be the D chord. This is the 5th, A, and then he's going sliding up to C, which would be the 7th of the D chord, and then going to F, which is the 3rd, and then at this point we're in C. No, we're in let's see, at this point we're in we go to this. This is actually the 5th again. So he's hitting the 5th of the 1 chord, and then by now we've switched to the 6th chord. So and we're hitting the 5th of that. So it's like, and then we're hitting the 5th again. We're sliding up briefly to the 3rd, like before, and then we're hitting the 5th of the C chord. And then we're going sliding down to the D, and then we're resolving on the root note of that D minor again. So basically, for every chord, we're just taking that 3rd to that 5th, going up to the 7th, and then we're going to for the next one, we're starting at the 5th and going up to the 7th, and then 5th, and then we go down to the root for the next chord. And this is actually the 3rd here. So we're going from the 3rd down to the root. So nice. So we're basically doing, we go to our piano, basically doing, no. It's a nice resolution, nice way to resolve it with the melody. And then in the next part, we're still keeping the chords the same. Chords are just repeating through the whole song. So we're doing now, and we're doing basically that. We're starting the same way with the third A up to C, down to F, and then going back up to C instead of up to this A here. And we're making this big jump, a sixth, back to the E. So that's the, this would be the, let's see, we're doing, and then we're going to the seventh, to the ninth of that chord, briefly. No. And then we're going to the third of C, which is E. And then we're going up, back up to that C. And then we're going up to that upper octave D. So this, not only where this gave us resolution by going down, this one gives us finality by going up to that same note. So it's nice, it's a nice way to like end the phrase on a high note, literally. And then what does he do? He goes into thirds. He just adds like a third harmony below that to the guitar. And these are all parallel thirds, except for that final note where he's hitting, actually this is a D and a G. So he's actually doing a power chord here. Actually, no, this is, that would be sliding up to E. So he's doing a fourth here. So he's hitting the fifth of that D minor and the root. It's just a stronger way to add on to that. So it gives us it gives us a stronger resolution by going to this fifth than if we were to like hang out on the third, which would be like. And then we go back to a, just a little, fading in F. And then we go to a power chord in these. This D and A again. And then we have this, like, really fast section. Why did I use a like an invisible pitch bend here? This is basically going to C. It's starting at A sharp and sliding up to C. So we have. So we're also still going back up to that C again. We're basically making the same motions as we did in the legato section, but we're having the rhythm, and then we're like passing this G here. And then we're omitting that first section and doing. So this time we're resolving to A instead of D, which is interesting. So we're resolving back to the fifth of the chord instead of going. So that's another way he could have done that if he wanted to repeat the same, but he wanted to make a variation. So he started resolving to the fifth instead for some variation. And then he adds thirds onto it again, right? And then now he's going into thirds again. He's finishing on thirds, whereas before he finished on a fourth. Now this is giving it more emotion rather than finality. And this is still a bend. It's like da da da. So we're ending it on more emotion. So he's making it very cold and like cold and final, and then he's adding emotion here. And he's going into a chill out section with this fade in. And then chilling out, and then bringing in some more energy. And then in the drum beat, we have even more hi-hats. So we're like doubling the hi-hats rhythm. We're going, so we're like hitting the hi-hats even faster. Actually, everything is faster here. So we're hitting now the snares on the and beats double the time. We're going into double time. We're going to do that, do that, do that, do that. Build more energy. While the bass stays the same, it doesn't change. We're building up more energy in the drums and in the melody. So it's like a headbang section. Adding more emotion. And then he finishes with another chill out section. Basically a repeat of the chill out section. And then I forgot to mention that the rhythm changes in this chill out section. So he's basically just doing like a bunch of quick hits and then resting. It's like a da-da-da-da-dum, like some quick hits and then just stopping. Da-da-da-da-dum. Da-da-da-da-dum. And then he builds it back up in this fourth bar. So he ramps it up in this fourth part and then goes back into the chill out section. So it's a nice way to finish off that part with a little bit of tension and then go back into the interject part. And the rhythm is, the drums are staying the same through all this, but the bass is like, so it's like a lot of like changing, like building energy in different parts and keeping other parts the same so that you can like make a lot of variations and make it feel alive. Pretty cool. A new you. Sonora David Wising up, I see. Yes, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Bro, you're amazing. Thank you, bro. Thank you, Caesar. I think it's Caesar. Yeah, Caesar is how you pronounce that. Same as the Bowman, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's pronounced the same as it is as in Roman Caesar. Not really sure. I think I've heard people say Caesar, but I'm not sure. I might be mistaken. Okay, so that's pretty much how that song goes. It just loops after that. That pretty much that's the last boss, but someone wanted the guy who requested Cave Chant is not here at the moment, so we'll just do we'll start Cave Chant in his absence, and then he can come and watch it again later. He's here. So let's not save changes. I don't want to probably mess something up while it's here. So this will be fun. This is the only Evelyn piece we've done so far. Most of the major themes we've covered in the game have all been like of Dave's pieces, but this will be fun. It's only fitting that we include at least one Evelyn piece. You've done a great job. This is also great behind the scenes, hearing how you restore the DKC soundtrack. Yes. The live streams are also, I think a lot of the Donkey Kong Country tracks I did were before I was streaming. So there's probably not a lot of live streams available for the Donkey Kong Country tracks, even if you go way back. So a lot of them might be unavailable. So this will be a good refresher into how they went into it. And you can also find all these files if you're musically inclined there's a link in the description to the project hub. Yeah. So this starts out with one of those things that the game loves so much, the the voice bass, big choir. Now this is the flute. So we have this bass on A. We're establishing sort of an A minor kind of thing, and then we have this flute going in layered with the bass. This is one thing that was unique to Evelyn. Dave didn't do a lot of layering. I think the extent of his layering would probably be that bass that we just saw in what's it called? Gangplank Galleon, where he layered the bass with an electric guitar. This one's a much more of a subtle layering. You almost can't even hear the flute here. If you remove this flute, we're basically just lacking some bass. Like, it really gives it a lot of strong fundamental, which gives it this like nice deep bass quality. So she's really just like layering, getting a big warm bass here. Unfortunately, this piece wasn't used more. Yeah, it was only used for one stage. Is kind of sad. Are you going to cover northern hemispheres on a live stream? If you want me to, I'll you can. I like to give people like one request per person. So you're like haven't requested one yet, so that's that would be doable. We can do northern hemispheres after this if you like. I think it was due to wanting to make different songs and levels, most likely. Yeah, maybe. You can't really fit everything. There was really most stages. I think they only had 2 of most stages, although some were used thrice. So you could have conceivably like made way for the other ones. This one, or moving this one. Actually, the caves were used thrice, so you could have done another like one of these instead of another cave in that world. Very nice. Let's see. So we've got that A bass, basically carrying the song at this point. And then you have this single lone chime. This was a sound that came from the Roland U220, which Dave used in Jungle Groove at the end, like that. Those little chimes. But then Evelyn really made it the star of the piece here with this bell. It plays an E, which is sort of the 5th of the A minor chord, so we're kind of establishing A minor here. And we're having lots of echoes just to make this like echo into the background of the cave, like it's echoing way into the cave, And then we have some strings here. Actually, this is in A major, right, as far as we're concerned now, because we're using C sharp. If this was A minor, it would be a C, which means that this is probably the other missing A major, like major scale song here. Actually, Bonus Room Blitz was also very solidly in major, so which means that this would be like the 3rd major scale song in the game. There's actually 3 major scale songs. So we have this 3rd C sharp, and then you have this harp coming in, this harp line coming in, creating some rhythm here. We really don't have any rhythm before, but now we're coming in with like a beat. So this is an ostinato, which Dave also used a lot, like quite a few ostinatos like this. So this is basically outlining an A sus4 chord. So where the strings was establishing A sharp major, we're using like A sus4 in the harp. So we're kind of having different levels of chords, which is kind of what Evelyn did. She was a little more experimental. Dave was a little more classical in the sense that he would establish a chord and then he would stick to it. But she's doing like different harmonics here. And it's also important that like this is in a different octave that we're doing this, while I think the strings are up here. Actually, I think it might be the same note, but it doesn't matter because it sounds good. Just creating a little bit of tension. So we're doing... And then we're going up here for a little tension. And then we do a variation where we go down here. Basically, this G that we're going to hear is a 7th. So we would have, this would make it a dominant chord as far as the strings is concerned. So that basically means we are like, because A major would be like, A major would not use this G. So that means we're in D major. This is a 5th. So we're starting on a 5 chord, which makes it in a Mixolydian mode. Because when you're doing modes, you're basically saying that, okay, we're using the D major scale, but instead of starting on D, we're using all the same notes, but instead of starting on D, we're starting on 5, the A. So that means we might be establishing this in A Mixolydian. I believe it's Mixolydian, or it might be A Lydian. Lydian is the 5th one. One of those. So we're basically establishing A Lydian here, which Dave did not use. I don't think Dave used very many modes at all. I don't think he used any modes in his pieces. But Evelyn used a lot of modes. Like a lot of Mixolydian, Lydian in particular. She uses a lot of Lydian. Where's my chat box? YouTube is taking away my chat box. YouTube likes to take things away from me randomly. Like just while I'm streaming. Hey, let's take his chat box away. That'll make things difficult. Let's see if we can get that back. Wow, who designed this? What are these like software designers that YouTube is using that it just removes my chat box? Yeah, most songs were used 3 times. I had a thought whenever you wanted to update the bonus room tracks, you could add an audio cue when you collect the bonus reward as an outro. Ah, okay. So like a sound effect? The bonus win tune. Yeah, that could be an option. We could do that. I could update maybe that. Yeah, that could be a thing. Let's see. So this thing using the song 3 times is rare. Yeah, unintended. So this is kind of building up pace now. We're building up pace, and we're now with this last part. We're going down to D here. D with this, introducing a little stability with this 3rd here, and then we're repeating that as we go. Having this fade in here, and then we really kick it off where we replace this deep bass with an actual bass, with a acoustic bass, and this is also in A, so we're further establishing this piece in A Lydian. And then from the strings, we change the strings back up to an A, so we're further like making this peaceful. It means we're kind of introducing some instability in here and some uncertainty, which is kind of what we did in Aquatic Ambience, right? We started with a lot of like mystery and uncertainty by having this this major 3rd here from the chord, and then having the sus of the sus4, the 4th of the chord, and then it's like then we remove all that. Like, okay, now we're gonna get peaceful. Now you're even like we're removing the sort of tension and mystery from the piece. And what is this harp doing? This harp is also establishing A, so we're basically doing a lot of A here. But wait, now we're going to G, so we're kind of doing a mock. We're kind of implying that we're going down a chord with this G, but I don't think we're reflecting that in anything else, which is kind of experimental, like what Evelyn does. And the bass, because the bass is staying in A here. We're not even like, we're kind of going on the off beats too, like we're throwing the beats to the wind. We're establishing a strong beat in the harp, but everywhere else we're kind of leaving it to like freeform tempo. So like I say freeform tempo, this is like we're just using the odd beats basically just to introduce some humanity into it. Actually, it's sort of a lead up to the instead of like here we're establishing the bass as the downbeat, right? But then we're going up like before the beat, and then we're kind of establishing the harp with the downbeat. And the harp was also playing the downbeat here. And then we hit the downbeat with the bass again. This time going into... And this is kind of an internal, like 4-5-1, because it's like 4-5-1. We're kind of doing a quick 4-5-1 there. That's pretty cool. Cool. And this harp that we're going into here is basically just doing, so this is just doing octaves, right? So we're basically just going from A to G. And A, G is, in the context of A, G is the 7th, so it's basically like we're putting a 7th in the bass here. And then we have that bell we're doing. We're kind of bouncing up and down between A and G, and then we go into this main melody. We introduce, like a lot of things, we introduce a more stable bass for one. And we're doing sort of a more rhythmic thing with the bass. Dum, 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 dum. So you're doing like, so you're starting off with hitting the bass on the 1 of the beat. And then you're introducing some syncopation with the offbeat, because this is basically like 1 E and So you're doing 1 1 It's like very offbeats. It's like the 4th beat. Or well, the 4th of the 4th. And then you're basically, it's basically like introducing some like off chord tones. So you're like introducing some instability in the beat instead of the chord tones. So that's kind of what we're doing there. And then we're switching the rhythm to, instead of the flute, I think we still have the harp going actually. So while the harp is going, we're adding a rhythm instrument, also in A sus. Where's that? It's the shakuhachi. So we're also, for like continuing the A sus trend. And we're briefly going to the like flattening that 4th and going down to the 3rd again. And then we kind of go down to this A sus 2 here. So we're kind of like mirroring that melody with the harmony here. Cool. And that's important because I'll show you. So it's like, instead of using the top to maintain the melody, we're wrapping it in these 2 chord tones that are staying the same. And then we're doing a melody in the middle here, which is pretty fun and interesting. And then we're mirroring what the bell is doing in the melody, because the bell, while the winds did this on the D, we're kind of playing with this like minor 3rd here. And then the lead is doing, let's see. Actually, I think this is off. This is from the D70. The D70 has an internally like bad tuning. This is actually from the Roland U220, but I'd use the D70 for this. It's the same patch. So I think this A comes out to be actually a D. Yeah, no, this is actually a G. I'm clocking it out here. Yeah, so it's actually... So it's transposed a little bit here internally. So basically what we're really doing is like... G, G... I should probably tune this. That means we didn't actually have an E before, we had a D. So if I go into this chorus, the chorus is F#5. I want this to be like a C. can't really, it's kind of hard to get that. It's not going between there. I think if I hold shift, it'll let me do a finer one. Yeah, there we go. Oh, now it went down to B. Okay, so that part, and then this part is like, it's just a... Okay. So now if we change this... Oh, this is still off from what it even said. This is in A sharp now, so it's actually, it's to go up to D. We hold shift. Why did they program this way? Why did Roland program this way? It's such a bad form. Now it's clocking at edge. I think that's right now. Yeah, because this is like, I remember this being like a D. I can measure this from like another channel. Preferably a long. Yeah, I think that's right. Because I remember this, if I recall correctly, this is supposed to be like a D note starting here. So this would probably shift down to D. So that means this part was, we were establishing A here in the beginning. I was wrong. We're basically just hitting all A's. And this is mirroring exactly what we had in the other one, where we had this A sus4, and then it was playing this melody. So it's basically layering the melody with that flute. It's sort of making like a flute thing, but the melody is doing and the flute is doing a little bit different stuff. But it's sort of like a pseudo not layer. And you can hear it going too. And it's a lower octave too in the wind, so it's kind of like a fugue harmony, you know? Like it's a counter melody in a way. It's really interesting how Elaine did her like experimental stuff. Like it was a little more experimental than Dave. So basically, what we're doing with this melody is that we're basically playing with that third again. So we're kind of playing inside that A sus chord a little bit, right? And we're bouncing a lot, right? It's like a nice rhythm, nice happy rhythm. So we went from starting with like super legato notes to having like a lot of like rhythm and like short notes. It's kind of fun. It's kind of happy, you know? And then we change. Let's see what we got. If possible, I nominate Treetop Rock. That's another song, DKC song to review. Okay, we can do Treetop Rock. +1 for Treetop Rock. There you go. We got another on Treetop Rock. Yeah, I've gotten bizarre glitches on YouTube app where they get weirdly scaled and our layers don't go away. Yeah. USA's finest software engineers. Yeah, it would be nice to see Treetop Rock. Gamer XT was 1 for Treetop. There you go. What's that thing with the F7 tuner? That's a FL Studio's like stock tuning VST. So you have an effect where it's just called tuner, and you can just tune things. So it's pretty nice, pretty convenient. Okay, now, yeah. This is like the perfect winter song. Yeah, it's like a little doo-wop. No, not doo-wop. It's like a little bouncy Christmas song. And it very much gives that feeling of winter because, you know, we think of, I think the reason why we make this association in our brains is because wind instruments kind of sound like wind, right? It's like the wind of, you know, like a blizzard, you know, so we think of like blizzards, and it's very high-pitched winds when you have a blizzard. So it's like you'll hear like these whistling. We think a flute makes us think of that, and then bells, for some reason, make us think of like Christmas, right? Oh yeah, because of Christmas, right? So we think winter, Christmas, you know, bells going off. So that's kind of a cultural association that I think we make. And I think the bass helps with that too, because an upright bass is like there's a lot of like jazz songs, and we like this. I guess jazz is somehow played in the wintertime, I guess. I don't know. Maybe. And then we go to a new chord here, which we're establishing in the bass as G. So we're going to G, and the rest is changing along with it. So we're definitely going to G here. So this whole song we've been in A. We've been establishing this A sus thing. And then now we're suddenly changing to G, so this is like a huge deal. So while we hinted at this change in the harp earlier here, where the harp was doing G, now we're actually doing G with the rest of the instruments. And we're reflecting this change. I think this is like a little harp melody here. Oh, this is a marimba melody. So we're kind of leading up to that with this, like, furthermore playing with this, like, in this around in this area. And we're doing D here on the change, so that's the fifth of G. So we're kind of solidifying this G chord. And then that's the third, that B. So we're going into thirds, and then we're resolving back up to D. Then going back down to D to B. So we're kind of like playing around with it. We're bouncing between the chords like we do with the melody, because the melody goes D D D D D D D C B B D B D D D C B. So we're kind of reflecting that same bounce. It's like the whole song is bouncing from D to B very slowly. It's kind of a fun thing to do, and it's very emotional because it's a third. A third is one of the most emotional intervals you can have. So where it's very happy, it's like emotional, it's very fun. And then in the flute, so now we're solidly establishing an actual major chord. Before we were doing a sus chord, we were just all doing sus chords, which it doesn't really have as much emotion because you're avoiding that third. You're using fourth and then a second on top. Those are all very unemotional intervals. Like the most unemotional intervals you can have are kind of the seconds, the fourth, the even intervals are the most unemotional intervals you can have. The thirds, however, are the most emotional ones because those are odd numbers. Odd numbers are emotional in chords. So now we're establishing this major chord. That's giving us a lot of emotion very suddenly. Nice. And so in the melody, we're reflecting this by going. Nice. So we're actually starting on a C sharp here, which is kind of strange. But again, Evelyn's a little more experimental. So C sharp is actually a tritone, which is the most dissonant interval you can have. So that's kind of strange. But it still works. It still sounds great. So actually, if you really wanted to make this part, force this to be part of the chord, it would be first, third, fifth, seventh, ninth, 11th. So that would be technically be an 11th here. We're starting on 11th with this chord. And it's up high, so it really, like, when you're doing like extended harmonies, you want to keep in mind, because it's, I think that's why it works, is because you're up so high. This is like actually, the actual octave of this is like C8, something like that, or like 8. So you're actually so up high that this really counts as a 11th, because it's like whereas the bass is down here and the winds are playing this chord down here. We're all the way up here. We're all the way up here. So you can see the interval, the actual frequency up here is way high, as opposed to the winds doing it at way down here. So the winds are all the way down here, while the lead while the bell is down up here. So that kind of lessens the dissonance some. So you can do it if you do more space between that thing. This is a lot less dissonant than this. And this is just that C sharp, that tritone, but the C sharp is moved up an octave. So it's less jarring if you did that. Whereas we're actually doing... So it's a lot less jarring when the notes are further apart. And then we go back. So basically, the harp here is also doing a new thing. So we're keeping that A the same, because at this point we're so used to this A that you can keep it in the chord tones without it being too jarring. And we're keeping this D here, this is the 5th. So basically it's almost implying a G sus2. And it goes down briefly as it does in the first part. And then it stays here while the rest of the song changes. So the rest of the song is going back. The bass is going back up to B now. We're doing a B. And then the winds are going... We're establishing kind of a G sus2 chord, but we're also doing B, which makes it a big old cluster. Actually, this could be read as we have a B in the bass, D, and then we could do like B minor. But then that would be, it would technically be a G with a D, with a B in the bass. So maybe G major 7. But this doesn't even hit the 7. So it's basically, you're also hitting this second is what's throwing me off. So it's kind of a cluster because we have G, B, and A. But that could be read as maybe, geez, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. That could be read as a 9th. But it's also, it's just very experimental. Okay, so there's that, and then in the melody, we're basically staying the same, so it really kind of feels like a cluster. Because we're going all over the place here. We have like G, A, B, C, D, So it's kind of works to build tension through dissonance before we resolve back to the next one. This one's kind of all over the place. If you compare this one to this one, see, everything's getting a little dissonant here. As opposed to here, we had a very wholesome G chord, right? Maybe relatively wholesome, but there's still like a cluster here, given this that we are using like A in both A and D. So, and then what we're doing on that G chord with the melody we're establishing A, so most of the harmony is playing like an A chord still, while the bass is playing B, and then the harp, oh, the harp is reflecting that. So the bass is just playing B. I think that's where most of the dissonance comes from, is because the bass is playing B. And then this is playing D, so we're kind of all over the place here. It's pretty experimental, but it works. It's a little dissonant, but it works. And then we resolve to E here, which works nicely because B is a fifth away from E, so it's kind of a 5-1 resolution. But that's also it's a circle of fifths progression because you have B is a fifth away. B is a fifth away from E, so we go resolve to E, and then we resolve again to A. So it's like a dum 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 dum, and then to A. Dum. So that's like a further resolution back because A is the home key. We've further established this to be in A Lydian. And then we resolve by starting the melody over. Meanwhile, the marimba is still bouncing from D to B. So in this new context of E, we now have a seventh in the marimba. And then it goes to a B, which when we hit that, go from B to, no, at that point we're hitting B. At this point we're hitting B, right? This is technically a third of the bass. And then when we go to E, this B is a fifth. So this is kind of causing a little bit of clashing, right? So because this is a third, so it's causing some emotion, and then we have a fifth, so it resolves in the marimba. Yeah, so it's a kind of motion then resolution. Now, in the flute we have, while the B is going on, we have D sus4. So we have basically a G, this cluster chord, which A is again basically the ninth. So we have sort of a G add 9 with a B in the bass. Right? So it's like we're establishing that kind of thing pretty solidly. And then yeah, okay. So I see how that works out. It's just I think the reason why it's so very dissonant is because we're putting a B in the bass. And the B is basically the third at this point. So it's kind of jarring to have a third in the bass. You usually don't want to do that. And then at this chord, we have the winds doing... So you have the winds doing a solid E sus4 chords, which gives it a little more resolution from that last chord with the B in the bass, which was a huge chord. And then it resolves further to A sus4. So we're resolving to A there, and then we're starting the melody over again. But this time we're introducing that harp from before here, right? So we're reprising that harp tune, which is basically just climbing an arpeggio in A. Right? We have... And it's actually, the top note is C sharp, which means we're establishing another C sharp, another A major within A sus4. And then we're going down G, and we're also using that third here, while we have our A sus chord still going on, right? So it's like, against the bass, this is like... Oh, actually, the bass goes up. The bass also continues its legato motion, but it's still in A, which means that this is like kind of clashing with the A, because we're in G here, G major. We're also hitting B. And then the B is going to G now. B goes to G, and the harp also goes to G. So it's a little bit of a resolution here. First, the harp is clashing with the bass by going to G while the bass is in A. Then it goes back to G, but the bass also goes to G. So it's kind of a resolution, kind of a nice resolution. Nice. All the while, the harp is continuing its usual thing. So we have a lot of different things just going on here. A lot of different things that are very hard to track. This one is still doing A sus. So we're pretty much in A sus here, but it doesn't reflect that G change with the harp and the bass. It just keeps doing its thing. Same with the winds. The winds are continuing to be in A, completely ignoring what's going on in the bass and the harp. It still works. It's all in the same scale. We're good. It's just a little dissonant because we're basically not following any specific chord structure here. It's all anarchy. And then we have like right, we have B, and then we go down to A with the bass, and the harp drops out. It basically have the so now we have G major in the flutes with once again a B in the bass, third in the bass. And then we go to D sus4 with the flutes, while we have A in the bass with the bass, so it's like a fourth in the bass, right? So we're kind of introducing some instability here. Then we go back to this. We go to this chill out section. All the while, the harp is still going on the A, but this time it's establishing sort of an A major, which while they're going in G, this is kind of a cluster because the rest is going in G, I guess. So it's kind of flying in the face of the rules. We don't really have a particular chord structure here. And the bell is kind of ending in A. So it's all over the place. Then we go to this chill out section. With also reprising those legato A notes. And then we're doing this thing in the this chromatic thing, we're completely foregoing the scale at this point. So we're going to this chromatic movement with the harp. All the while, the main harp is still going on. Yeah, so it's really clashing with the harp notes, because if you look at what the harp is doing, so see, it's like it's introducing a lot of tension, which makes me think of like slipping, like kind of slipping away, like you're slipping out of control with this. All the while, there's like relaxing legato notes under that to mitigate that. And then we go back into this like a chorus thing. So we're repeating that again. This is not the loop yet. This is just an internal repetition. And then we go back into it. Actually, I think that was a repeat. I think that was where it loops. I think I just repeated this a bunch of times by accident. So, or maybe it did that internally. Just repeated a bunch of times. I don't know. But we're basically restarting the song back to that chorus, foregoing this like mysterious intro here. That was basically just to get you oriented into the scene, ease you into it kind of, with a slow start. Then we keep this pace here. So that's pretty much the song. And I'm getting kind of tired. I want to go. But we'll come back to this maybe in a couple of hours. I want to like continue. I want to finish the soundtrack analysis today. So we'll come back in an hour or two, I think. I don't really have anything pressing I need to do. So we'll go ahead and finish this, and then next week we'll come back with DK2. So I'm going to take a break and go eat stuff. Let's see. Greetings from Chile. Welcome, Black Jam Alex. Welcome from Chile. Nice. I like Chile. Chile has good food. Eveline Novakovic track. Yes, one of Evelyn's tracks. Really gives the impression of skidding on ice. Yes, exactly. Like skiing. Nice. All right, y'all. So we'll take a break, and then I'll come back in an hour or two after I've eaten and gotten my bearings. And yeah, it's just kind of, you don't really want to do like a lot of like music or even like listening to a bunch of stuff at once. It gets to be kind of tiring. So we'll come back in a couple of hours. All right. Thanks for coming to the stream, y'all, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.